Hey harpists and harp lovers, my name is Bridget and I'm a harpist based out of Utah, USA. If you've been following my channel, I mainly post videos of me playing the harp, but I've decided to branch out and try some more informative, instructional videos, educational videos about the harp for those who want to learn or for those who are just curious. I'm planning on doing these types of videos regularly, like every few months. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do, make sure to leave a like or a comment or even consider subscribing. This is a comprehensive guide to everything you need to know about tuning a harp. In this video, we will be covering everything from the mechanics of tuning, types of tuning apps and tuning keys, how to tune different types of harps, and more. There will be timestamps of the topics that I cover in this video, so feel free to skip ahead to what you need. First, we're going to go over some of the how and why your harp goes out of tune. The first reason is if you have a brand new harp. When you get a harp shipped to you, or if you get your harp from a store, and if it's been in the back, hasn't been played a lot, the strings will be loose because the harp maker will loosen them to send them in the mail so that the strings don't break in the mail. If you're getting it from a store, it might be a little different because if the harp is being played in the store, they'll be wanting to keep it in tune. But if you get a harp shipped to you, the strings will definitely be very, very loose in order to preserve them in the mail. So you will need to tighten and tune and take care of your strings multiple times a day in order to get them to retain their tune after being loosened for so long. When I got this harp in the mail, it came in a big package. It was awesome and it was super fun to open. I was super excited. I was 14 and then I spent weeks, I think 2 weeks, getting my harp to stay in tune because the strings were super loose from being in the mail. So that's the first thing that can make your harp be out of tune, is if you have a brand new harp. Or if you buy your harp used, that can also make it be out of tune, especially if the prior owner wasn't taking care of it. I see a lot of times with my students who have bought used harps, sometimes the reason why the prior owner was getting rid of it is because they didn't have time to play it. And harps that are played are happy harps that stay in tune. If a harp is left unplayed for so long, the strings will just naturally go out of tune and get sharp and flat and just fluctuate with environmental factors, which we'll talk about here in a second. And so harps that aren't played often will also cause you to need to tune them a lot more often than just a normal harp that's been played and well loved. Going along with that is our next reason why your strings may be out of tune, which is if they are old strings. You can tell when a string is old by how it looks and how it sounds. If it's not holding a tune very well, it might be a sign to change that string and get a new one. But if a string, if you notice with the clear strings at least, if the string is cloudy, if there looks like there's a lot of texture inside the string, that is a sign that the string is a little bit older and may be having trouble holding a tune. And also you can see if there are physical damage to the string. That may even be a sign that it's time for a new string, not just retuning it. Next, let's talk about environmental factors on your harp strings and on your harp in general. The first environmental factor that can cause your strings to go out of tune is temperature. In cold environments and cold weather, if there's a cold front coming in, the pressure changes, the temperature changes, and it can affect your strings. Generally, in colder weather, the strings will tighten, causing them to go sharp, and then the opposite effect happens with warmer weather, which can cause the wood of your harp to relax, which in turn causes the string to relax tension, which then causes it to become flat. So cold increases the tension on the wood and the string, warm decreases the tension on the wood or the string. The next environmental factor which affects your harp is the humidity. Humid weather can have the same kind of effect as the warm weather does, where it can cause your strings and your harp to absorb moisture that's in the air and it can help to relax the strings and cause them to go more flat. And then the opposite, of course, is true for dry weather. That can cause moisture in the wood of your harp to leave instead of be absorbed like with humidity. It can cause the moisture to decrease in your wood and in your strings, and then which causes them to tighten and go sharp. Basically, the moisture content of wood will change in response to humidity, which then affects your strings. And then there's pressure changes or weather. Changes in air pressure is what causes weather, and then can lead to a sudden decrease or increase in temperature and humidity, which can then throw your harp out of tune. My harps definitely go out of tune most when it rains, and you probably notice that that's when yours do too. And then last, moving your harp can cause your strings to go out of tune. Moving your harp introduces your harp to new environments, which can cause an increase or decrease in pressure, humidity, temperature, all of those things. So moving your harp is definitely going to throw it out of tune, at least a little bit. You want to make sure to avoid leaving your harp in a car during hot or cold months, because obviously the temperature increase and change can affect your strings negatively and even affect your harp as a whole negatively. These tips in caring for your harp strings are just as important in caring for the overall health of your harp. Extreme temperatures, inclement weather, changes in humidity, those are all things that can not only make your strings go out of tune or break them, it can also cause damage to your instrument itself. Next, let's talk about the two main things that you're going to need in order to tune your harp, besides the harp itself, of course, and that is an electric tuner or tuning app and a tuning key. This is an example of an electric tuner that you can get from the store. I will have the links to all this stuff in the description box if you want to go buy a tuner or download one of the apps I talk about. For these, this one that I have is both a tuner and a metronome. Here I'll show you how to use an electric tuner. Of course, it will vary between brands, but the general idea is more or less the same. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the tuner part of it. I always tune to 441 Hertz. Lots of people also tune to 440. Basically, what you're going to do is, you can see it moving while I'm talking, is you're going to play your string and it will show you how far off the tuning is. If over here is lit up, it means that the string is flat and needs to be tightened. If it's over here, it means that the string is sharp and needs to be loosened. So here you can see my string is almost right on, just a little flat. There are also apps that you can get on your phone that you can use to tune your harp. Here is the tuning app Sound Corset. This is the one that I use. I like it because it also has a metronome function, and I think it's really intuitive and easy to use. Another tuning app that you can get that I know is really popular is Piano Tuner. Here it is here, and I think people like it because it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't have a lot of fluff. So there are pros and cons of using a tuning app versus a physical tuner. There is definitely the cost factor. Apps are free and you have to go buy a physical tuner. Your phone is convenient, but it needs to be charged. Your tuner will never go out of a charge until the battery dies. I haven't changed the battery in my tuner for, I don't even know, years. It definitely lasts a lot longer than a phone charge, but you do have to remember to bring it along with you. I prefer a physical tuner. I am able to plug a little pickup into it so that it picks up the noise of my strings easier for tuning purposes, especially if the environment is loud. I usually keep it in my harp bag, so I'm not worried about forgetting it, but if I ever do, I have the Sound Corset app on my phone just in case. Next, we'll talk about tuning keys. A tuning key is what you use to tune the harp. Basically, tuning keys all have a little hole there on the end of them that you then attach onto the pin of your harp. There are many different sizes and shapes of tuning keys, but they all have the same function. They all do the same thing. And with these, you can tell, even though these two keys look very differently on the outside, the hole that you attach onto the pin is actually the same size and shape, even though the outer part of the key looks different. Now let's take my little Celtic harp, which is the one that came with this tuning key. Of course, it fits just fine. It was made for it, but the tuning key that came with my Line and Healy harps also fits just fine. And that's because, just like I showed with my bigger lever harp, the holes on the tuning keys are the same size and shape. There are exceptions, however. For example, one of my students has a harpsichord harp, and as you can see, her tuning key has a smaller hole than my two tuning keys that I have here. And that is because her harpsichord, the pins that you use to tune with, are smaller, and so they need a smaller sized hole on the tuning key in order to accommodate the smaller pin. My tuners would not work on her harp, and her tuner would not work on my harps because the pin sizes are different. Let's go over what the different strings are on the harp so that you know what to tune each of them to. On a harp, the C's are red and the F's are black or blue on some harps. And then it just follows alphabetical order. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So if you're tuning your harp to be in all naturals, that is what you'll want to tune each string to. C natural, D natural, E natural, F natural, and so forth. The order repeats in each octave of string. So this is still a C, this is still a C, this is still a C. So that order, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, repeats all the way bottom to top. Now let's get to the fun part, tuning the harp. First off, you're always going to want to tune your harp in open position, whether you have levers or pedals. For a lever harp, open position means having all of the levers down and not engaging any of the strings. For a pedal harp, it means having all of your pedals up in the flat position so that there's no tension being exerted on the strings in that situation as well. Tuning with your levers up or having your pedals engaged can interfere with the string's balance while tuning. So when you return the lever or pedal to open position, the pitch will no longer be the same as when you tuned it. Tuning with levers or pedals engaged also puts undue stress on both the string and the pedal mechanism or lever mechanism, and can lead to damage and strings breaking sooner than they would have otherwise. You can tune sitting or standing. I always tune standing because it lets me reach the bass notes easier. Tuning standing up also lets you get a good view of above the harp, so you can double check to make sure that the pin that you're attaching to corresponds with the correct string that you're wanting to tune. However, you definitely can tune sitting down. You just have to reach to get the low ones. And you can lean your harp back to reach them, and then forward to get the high strings. So let's tune. First thing to know is that when you put your tuning key forward, it will tighten the string, increase the tension, raise the pitch, and make it go sharp. When you turn your key backwards, it will loosen the string, it'll decrease the tension, it will lower the pitch and make it go flat. There are some variation, as I found out just recently with my student who has a harpsichord. With her harpsichord, first off, the pins are actually on the other side of the harp than with my harps. And maybe there are other harps like this, but I actually had no idea. And so apparently harpsichords have their tuning pins on the same side of the harp as the strings are on and the levers are on. I also discovered that the way her specific harp was strung made it so that when you went forward with the tuning key, when you turned it forward, it made the strings go flat. And then when you turned the key backwards, it made the strings go sharp. So it was actually the opposite than how I had been tuning my whole life. And so apparently if you string it a different way, it can flip-flop the way that you tune. But most other harps that I've seen have had it this way, where forward is sharp and backward is flat. Here we are, we're ready to tune. I've got my tuning key and I'm going to put it onto the pin of the string that I want to tune. So I'm going to be tuning this C, which is this pin right here. I'm going to put my tuning key onto the pin and I'm going to play my C. I've put it way out of tune so that you can see me cranking it one way or the other in order to get it to the right tuning. So I'm going to play my string. It's registering as a B flat and we want it to be a C. So what we're going to do is tighten it in order to get it from a B flat to a C. B flat is under C, so we need to raise the pitch in order to get it to be a C in tune. So here we go, got my key. I'm going to put my tuning key forward to tighten the string. You can hear the pitch go up. So I went forward in order to make the pitch go higher. Now let's take this same C. I've now tuned it to be a C sharp, and we need to get it back to a normal C. So we are going to loosen the string, turning the key backwards to loosen the string, get it back to a C natural. There you go. All right, now that we've covered everything, we're going to do a quick run through from start to finish of the tuning process so that you can see exactly what I'm doing in real time. And then I've also got my tuning app being screen recorded so that you can see what it's picking up as well. So I've got some strings that I've put out of tune and we're going to help them get back to where they need to be. All right, as you can see, our tuner is picking it up as an E, which is an out of tune E. Since E is lower than F in the order of the strings, this E is the one that it's picking up. It's picking up as if the F string was this E right next to it. So we need to increase the pitch, need to raise the pitch in order to get it from an E to an F. So we're getting it to a half step above it, E to F. So we're going to tighten the string, go forward to increase the tension, increase the pitch, and make it more sharp to get it from an E to an F. So here we go. Went a little too far, so I'm going back a little. That's pretty close. That one's good. Let's go on. Next, we'll do G. We want this to be a G. It says it's a G, but remember when the arrow is all the way to the right like that, it means it's too sharp and needs to be loosened to get back to the middle. Turn the key this way. And there we go. We got it from a very sharp G to a natural G. Next, we've got this D that we're going to be tuning. We want it to be a natural D. All right, saying it's a D flat. So notice the arrow is on the right side, which if it was picking it up as a D, that would mean that we would need to loosen to get back to the middle. But because this is picking up as a D flat is a half step lower than D. So we need to instead tighten and raise it. So just because the arrow is pointing to one side or the other doesn't automatically guarantee that you need to turn it tighter or looser. You have to look at what the pitch is that it's picking up. If it were picking up a D natural, but with the arrow all the way over the right, that means that we need to loosen it to get back to a D. Since it's picking up a D flat, even though the arrow is all the way to the right, we need to keep turning it so that it goes all the way to where we need it to be at a D natural. Okay, so here's our D flat. So I'm going to move it forward to get it to be a D. There we go. So because it was a D flat is lower in pitch than D natural, so we needed to tighten the string in order to raise the pitch to get it to be a D natural. Next, we have this C that we're trying to tune. It's picking it up as a D flat. D flat is higher than C, right? It's this string here. So it's picking it up as a D flat instead of a C natural. So we need to loosen the string to get it from a D flat back to a C natural. So we're too sharp now, so we need to loosen the string, loosen the tension, and get it to a C natural. So I'm going to turn the tuning key backwards to loosen the string. There we go.
We interrupt our tuning video for a very important intermission. He needed attention, so here we are. Hi Gunther, this is Gunther, and he needs attention right this minute. Okay, I'll give you attention right this minute.
Let's talk a bit about lever harps specifically. If you had a harp that didn't have any levers on it, if it was just like a basic harpsichord, then you would just tune your strings to whatever note you needed them to be. When you have levers, the levers raise the tension of the string. So they raise the pitch of the string a half step. If I play this C, I put the lever up, it's C sharp. And that is the same with all the levers, no matter what string they're attached to. If you put the lever up, you increase the pitch by a half step. What if you wanted to play a piece or a song that had flats in it? Then you would have to tune your lever harp a different way. Let's get into that just a little bit so that if you are looking to be able to play songs and pieces that have flats in them, you will be able to be equipped to know how to do that. So as it is right now, like I mentioned, the levers can only raise the pitch. The levers cannot lower the pitch. So you have to tune your string to be the pitch that you want it to be at, and then when the lever is up, that's the other pitch you want it to be at. So if you want to be able to play both B flats and B naturals, but you don't care about B sharp, then you would have to tune your B string to be a B flat when the lever is down. So that way, when the lever is raised, it raises a half step and becomes a B natural. Basically, the way to think about it is whatever string you want to be a flat, you have to tune it to be a flat when the lever is down. That way, when you raise the lever, it goes to a natural. If I want to be able to play B flats on my lever harp, I need to tune my B strings to be a B flat when the lever is down. And then that way when I put the lever up, it'll be a B natural. If you tuned your harp to B flat when the lever was up, then that means that when you put the lever down, it would be a half step below B flat, which would make it an A. So you want to tune, if you want a flat, you want to tune the string to be that flat when the lever is down. That's the only way to lower a pitch with the levers with a lever harp, is to tune it to the flat when the lever is down, and then when you put the lever up, it'll put it to a natural. Let's take my lever harp for an example. You'll notice that my levers are up on my E's, A's, and B's. This makes it so that I can play both E, A, and B natural and E, A, and B flat. Here is my E string. I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's a normal E. I'm going to put the lever down. Now it's an E flat. Same with my A's and my B's. Here's my B. That's a B natural. When I put the lever down, it goes down a half step, which makes it a B flat. So now I can play B flats, A flats, and E flats on my lever harp. So for my harp in particular, I want to be able to play 3 flats and 4 sharps. And the way I have it tuned allows me to do that. Because levers, remember, they can either go up or down. They can either raise or lower the pitch. They can't do all 3 like a pedal harp can. For further clarification on this, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through each of my strings in 1 octave to tell you how I have them tuned. If you get the idea and you don't need this, feel free to skip, but here's just an extra in-depth look into the way of tuning your lever harp to be able to play both flats and sharps for different strings. So remember, we always want to tune with the lever down because tuning with the lever up can cause unnecessary stress on the string. So when I tune my C strings, I tune them to C natural. That way, when I raise the lever, it becomes sharp, a C sharp. For D strings, I tune them to D natural. So when I raise the lever, they become D sharp. For my E strings, I tune them to E flat with the lever down, so they become E natural when the lever is up. For my F strings, I tune them to F natural when the lever is down, so that when I raise the lever, it becomes F sharp. For my G strings, I tune them to G natural when the lever is down, so when the lever is up, it becomes G sharp. Then with A, my A strings, I tune them when the lever is down to be A flat. So when I raise the lever, it goes to A natural. For my B strings, I tune them when the lever is down to be B flat, so that when I raise the lever, it goes to B natural. And same all the way for all of the strings across the board. You can see the pattern of which ones are up and which ones are down. Right now, my harp is in the key of C because my levers for the flats are up. So I have right now C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If I were to put my levers down, it would make the E's, A's, and B's go flat. So here's how it would sound if I played them, all those strings with the levers down. That's definitely not C major, that's C minor. So I tune my harp to have flats and sharps. This way I can play C sharps, I can play D sharps, I can play F sharps, and I can play G sharps, but I can also play E flats, A flats, and B flats. Of course, you don't have to tune your harp this way. It's just if you want to be able to play flats, you have to be able to make the strings and the levers work for playing with flats. You can tune so that when all of your levers are down, they're in C major. You can tune it so that when you have only B flats available to use, you could have it so that you only have B's and E flats available to use. And you could tune it so that you have B's, E's, and A's. And you could even tune it so that you have D flats available to use. And remember, if you tune it this way, when the lever is down, you tune it to the flat of that note. When the lever is up, it will turn into the natural. That way you can play both naturals and flats. With sharps, it's natural when the lever is down and sharp when the lever is up. All you have to keep in mind for tuning a pedal harp is to make sure that your pedals are in open position or in all flats. Just like with tuning a lever harp, you want to make sure that your mechanism is in open position so you avoid unnecessary stress on the strings. Remember that if you're tuning your harp with the pedals in open position, the notes that you want to tune the strings to are going to be all the flat version of those notes. So here's our E string. It's picking up as an E flat, which is what we want it to be. We want to tune it to E flat because that is the position that the pedal is in when we tune it. I want to talk about enharmonic notes really quick. If you know what that is, you can skip this part, but it does come into play when tuning because sometimes your tuning app or your electric tuner will pick up a note that is not set necessarily what you want it to be, but it is. Let me explain. In the scale, we have naturals, sharps, and flats for the different pitches. Each note has a sharp version and a flat version and a natural version. You've got a C sharp, a C natural, and a C flat. Well, some of those notes share a pitch. A D sharp is the same pitch as an E flat. And A sharp is the same pitch as a B flat. They share the same pitch. When you hear them, it's the same note. So say you're tuning your harp, a pedal harp or a lever harp, and say that you are tuning your E string and you want to tune your E string to an E flat. Say you're tuning your string and your electric tuner or your tuning app is picking it up as a D sharp when you want it to be an E flat. So you're confused and you're like, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I don't understand why it's not picking it up as an E flat. Well, that's because D sharp and E flat are the same pitch. So sometimes your tuning app or your electric tuner will pick up a pitch and say that it's one thing when it's also the other thing. Both things are true. A D sharp is the same as an E flat. You could be tuning your D string and you want it to be a D sharp, but then it's coming up as E flat. Same with every string. Every string has an enharmonic equivalent. A D sharp is the same as an E flat, and E sharp is the same as an F because they're only a half step apart in the scale. An F sharp is the same as a G flat, an A flat is the same as a G sharp, a B flat is the same as an A sharp, and a B sharp is the same as a C because they're only a half step apart. If it's confusing to think about, you can picture it like the keys on a piano. A piano only has one black key for every white key. So this C, C sharp, D is the same as D, D flat, C. The C and the D share the black key in the middle, which means this black key is both a C sharp and a D flat. With both E and F, and with B and C, there is no black key in the middle, which means a B sharp is the same as a C, and a C flat is the same as a B. An E sharp is the same as an F, and an F flat is the same as an E. That's what an enharmonic equivalent is. It's basically a note that two notes share in their flat or sharp form. So C sharp, same as D flat. D sharp, same as E flat. E sharp, same as F. F flat, same as E. F sharp, same as G flat. G sharp, same as A flat. A sharp, same as B flat. B sharp, same as C. C flat, same as B. And those are enharmonic equivalents. Also just wanted to share a couple last tips to help you in your harp tuning journey. First one is the more often you tune your harp, the more reliably it will be in tune when you need it to be. Two is if you have a gig or a performance coming up, tune your harp every day or every other day for the week leading up to that gig or performance. And that's everything you need to know about tuning a harp. I feel like I covered a lot in this video, so I hope that the timestamps are helpful. You can find the links to the things I talked about in the description box, If you have any questions for me, please leave a comment and ask. I will respond and help the best I can. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learned something, and even if you're not a harpist, that you found it enjoyable to watch and that you maybe even learned something too. Leave a like, a comment, and please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.